Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a pretty fascinating scientific reality. It turns out that a super common, everyday item, something probably sitting quietly in your pantry right now, holds an absolutely astonishing amount of complex biochemical power in the fight against cancer. Let's get into it. I mean, it sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it? Can a simple seed, something you just kind of sprinkle on your morning oatmeal or toss into a smoothie, actually disrupt malignant cancer cell pathways? Well, think of this as a scientific mystery we're about to solve, because we aren't just talking about general, vague wellness here. We're looking at targeted, literal molecular level disruptions of tumor growth.
And to prove right off the bat that we're rooting this discussion in serious peer-reviewed data, I want to hit you with a statistic that is just wild. 63%. In clinical research out of Creighton University that was looking at melanoma, researchers found that dietary supplementation of flaxseed reduced secondary metastatic tumor occurrence by up to 63%. They literally concluded it was a useful nutritional adjuvant for preventing metastasis. That is a massive number. So how exactly is a tiny seed pulling this off?
To understand the how, we need to sketch out a little biochemistry. Let's define something called SERMs. That stands for selective estrogen receptor modulators. If we use a kind of sketch note metaphor here, just picture a lock and a key. The lock is a receptor on a cancer cell that absolutely needs estrogen to grow and multiply. Well, a SERM acts like a decoy key. It fits perfectly into that lock, totally blocking the real estrogen from getting in, but it doesn't actually turn the lock to stimulate the cancer's growth. It basically alters the hormone metabolism favorably, effectively starving those hormone-sensitive cancers of the fuel they desperately need. Now, if we zoom in and break down the anatomy of a flaxseed, it reveals two primary microscopic bioactives doing the heavy lifting. On one side, we've got omega-3 fatty acids, specifically ALA. These guys are powerfully anti-inflammatory, and they integrate directly right into the cell membranes to alter lipid metabolism. On the flip side, we have lignans, specifically one called SDG, and these are the hormone-modulating powerhouses that target those estrogen receptors we were just talking about. So you have two distinct bioactives totally working in tandem. Imagine peering over the shoulder of a brilliant scientist into their lab notebook. You can see the exact mechanisms of these omega-3 fatty acids acting against the cancer. Notice how EPA and DHA, which, by the way, are formed from the ALA and flaxseed, downregulate VEGF. What does that mean in plain English? It means they restrict tumor vascularization. They're literally helping to cut off the blood supply that a tumor is actively trying to build for itself to survive. No blood supply, no growth. But wait, the biochemical assault doesn't even stop there. This is what we playfully call disrupting the oncogenic alphabet soup. Flaxseed actively inhibits the PI3K, Akt and mTOR pathway, basically suppressing survival signals. It suppresses NF-κB, which is what drives inflammation-induced tumor growth. It modulates Wnt and beta-catenin to reduce metastatic potential. And finally, my favorite, it induces apoptosis. That means it forces malignant cells into programmed cell death. It is actively telling the cancer cells to self-destruct. Okay, here is where the story takes a super fascinating biological twist, and it really shows the sheer magic of human digestion. When you eat flaxseed, the lignans don't actually fight the cancer on their own right away. They have to go through what is basically a gut microbiome assembly line. You ingest the lignans, they travel all the way down to your colon, and then your gut bacteria take over. It's crazy. Through a fermentation process, your very own gut bacteria are what convert those plant lignans into mammalian lignans, which are called enterolactone and enterodiol. So the crucial takeaway here is that your own gut bacteria are entirely responsible for unlocking the seed's cancer-fighting potential. And the real star of the show is enterolactone. Remember that lock and key analogy from earlier? Enterolactone is that ultimate decoy key. Once it's produced by your microbiome, it circulates in your plasma and acts as a powerfully protective anti-estrogenic compound right inside the human body, giving you this incredible defense against hormone-sensitive malignancies. Now, the historical context of all this is honestly just as fascinating as the modern science. Let's slow down for a second and look at the famous Budwig protocol. Decades ago, Dr. Johanna Budwig stated, "I started to give flax oil and cottage cheese to the cancer patients. Tumors gradually receded." She was basically combining electron-rich flax fats with sulfur-rich proteins like cottage cheese to make those fats water-soluble. She was attempting to restore normal cellular respiration in cancer patients, and she was intuitively grasping concepts of cell membranes that science is literally only just fully validating today. Actually, scratch that. Modern integrative oncology has updated this historical approach a bit. Let's clear up a common myth with some clinical reality. You might naturally think extracted flax oil is the most potent form, right? But there's a metabolic catch. Cancer cells often lack the specific desaturase enzymes required to convert the ALA in flax oil into those downstream anti-inflammatory compounds. Because of this, extracted oil can sometimes just sit there in a pro-inflammatory state, especially during radiation therapy. Whole ground flaxseed, on the other hand, it retains all the fibers, all the lignans, and the full metabolic potential your body actually needs. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. All of this molecular biology and historical theorizing is super cool, but does this actually work outside of a petri dish? What really happens when we take this from the microscopic cellular level up to macro-level human trials? Well, let the magnitude of this number sink in for a second. 34%. In a double-blind human clinical trial, researchers observed a staggering 34% reduction in tumor cell proliferation. We are not talking about a test tube here. We are talking about actual living human cancer patients. Here is the incredible mini-narrative behind that number. It is known as the Princess Margaret Hospital Muffin Study, run by Dr. Paul Goss up in Toronto. Postmenopausal women newly diagnosed with breast cancer, who were just waiting for their surgery, were simply given a daily muffin. But this muffin contained 50 grams of ground flaxseed. In just the roughly 30 to 40 days between their diagnosis and their surgery, their tumors remarkably changed. Cell proliferation dropped by 34%. Tumor cell apoptosis, again that's the programmed cell death, spiked by 31%, and their protective urinary lignans shot up by 1,300%. All of that just from eating a daily flaxseed muffin? No way, right? Humanizing this clinical data shows us a really consistent pattern. Whether we're looking at breast cancer or prostate cancer, the clinical findings keep pointing in the exact same direction. Flaxseed supplementation consistently improves hormonal balance. It significantly reduces markers of oxidative stress, and it induces apoptosis in cancer cells. And get this, you don't even necessarily need 50 grams a day to see biochemical changes. Consider this totally fascinating study known as the Nuns of Minnesota. Dr. Joanne Slavin gave elderly nuns just 5 to 10 grams of daily flaxseed for 7 weeks. Even at that incredibly small daily dose, the testing showed it successfully altered the concentrations of sex hormones and estrogen breakdown products that are directly associated with breast cancer. It quite literally made their bodies a less hospitable environment for cancer to grow. No, guys, don't tune out because the benefits are absolutely not limited to women. Let's look at this number, 30 grams. That was the specific daily dose of ground flaxseed given to a group of men in a clinical trial who were awaiting surgery for prostate cancer. The results for male hormone-sensitive cancers were just as compelling. Adding those 30 grams of flaxseed to their daily diet acted as a really powerful prostate cancer defense. The clinical trials showed that the diet lowered their overall PSA levels, it significantly slowed the cellular division rate of the cancer cells, and it acted as a highly potent nutritional adjuvant to protect against the spread of hormone-sensitive tumors. Okay, now, as enthusiastic as we obviously are about this data, we do have to be real for a second, look at the full scientific picture, and acknowledge the clinical translation challenges. We definitely still have bioavailability issues, mostly because, as we learned earlier, absorption relies entirely on your individual gut microbiome variations. Basically, your gut bugs might just be better or worse at fermenting lignans than mine are. There's also some dosage uncertainty. We really still need large-scale, multi-center trials to nail down the absolute perfect protocols for everyone. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to kind of sketch out in our minds. We now know the raw biochemical power of the lignans and omega-3s hiding inside this very common seed. So with the rapid rise of targeted nanoformulations, I'm talking delivery systems like liposomes and polymeric nanoparticles that scientists are busy developing right this second, what untapped potential is precision nutrition going to unlock next? Imagine a near future where modern technology can perfectly deliver this ancient seed's anti-cancer power directly into tumor tissues. It's an absolutely incredible frontier, and to think, it all starts right there in your pantry. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.